Hi, I'm Michael.
And I'm Malcolm, sorry.
You might see Coco walking around. She decided to join us today for On the Sofa. We get so many questions all the time about...
Coco is a cat, by the way.
Oh yeah, Coco is a cat, a small cat.
Very new kitten.
That seems to be taking over our whole life. But we get asked so many questions all the time, by Facebook, by emails, by on workshops.
And we also used to be face-to-face at conventions. Someone would ask us 12 questions before they went to the next class.
Is it better to lift the head up or keep the head down? Those kind of questions. Is Imprint better than neutral? And it is confusing sometimes. And so we thought we'd just create a space where we would get together and we start answering those questions, the common questions we get asked all the time.
Because we do bounce things off each other, because one of us will get a question coming in, we'll say something, then we'll check with the other. Is that what you said? How would you say it? What do you think? Did I say it right? So we do have differences of opinion because we're coming often from different perspectives, but we always have the same end resolution, which is interesting to hear, hopefully, for others. That's what we're hoping you're going to be interested in. But we chose to do...
Well, today I just want to explain. I've been teaching for a long time, and what I teach is Pilates. I've been teaching Pilates for a long time, but the way I teach has definitely changed. For at least 20 years of my life, I was always imprinting the back into the reformer onto the mat, and actually quite a hard imprint. So in around 1999...
Well, 1999 is when I started doing Pilates with Michael, and yes, 100% that's how we were working. I've always been an argumentative and questioning, any of you that know me know this, questioning person. Drove Michael nuts, because sometimes if it doesn't feel right for me, I'm not an enthusiastic exerciser in general, so therefore I have to really be... to get it, to feel it. And I sometimes would, debating and saying and wondering and questioning, and Michael would say, just do it, it works. But then we started to really develop more and more into our questioning, and we were presented with some new information about that.
Yeah, in 1999, the research came out that really for the first time that showed us the position of neutral pelvis, neutral spine has been a lot better training position if we were trying to target the deeper core muscles. Now, of course, I thought that pushing the back hard onto the mat, pulling in as hard as you could was the best way of working, and I did that for a very, very long time. But suddenly we were faced with real research that proved, without a doubt, and there's been no research since then to counteract the...
There has been updates, there have been progressions, there have been softening of certain elements. There is always development and change. No research, that, especially the older it gets, stands unaffected by new information coming along. And that's why for us, it's always a process of, well, this is what we're saying and doing now, but don't be concerned if in 3 years from now we're doing something slightly differently, because we are going to be keeping in touch with the work that's going on out there, the amazing work that's going on out there. You've met Coco wandering through.
So Coco's now coming to be part of this
the
talk.
amazing work that's out there that we are really fortunate we get a chance to experience that and hear things, and it forces us to think again. So sometimes we stay exactly with what we're thinking about, what we're doing. Other times we really do review and think, right, we need an alternative, because there's a benefit by going this other way, both from evidence but also from experience.
Without a doubt, both are very relevant positions. Neutral spine is very relevant, and neutral pelvis, and very important because it's been proved it's the best way of trying to target those muscles. Now, of course, clients will say, oh, I much prefer imprinting. Yes, of course they do, because they're lengthening out their back, which sometimes, of course, is very tight. And we would imprint the spine. If I was lifting my head up and my shoulders up, then I would absolutely imprint. I would never keep, personally, I would never keep neutral pelvis and neutral spine and lift the head and shoulders up. I would always allow the spine to imprint to avoid tension in the back. But neutral...
Even that's debated by different people.
And that is being debated. But
we do a lot of anecdotal stuff as well, because we don't do full research. We don't work with full research. We're not clinicians. But anecdotally, you can get a lot of information if you learn how to extract and get people to talk openly about what their experience is. And that experience is what we really rely on to confirm what we're trying is actually getting the results we were told it would get. If we don't get that, we won't change it. We won't continue with that process. We will move on to something else.
Of course, this research now has been around for about 20 years. We've been using it, and as many people, Cameron Angus, who's one of our guests on our webinars, said, we became obsessed with it. And we did. We became obsessed with working neutral spine and neutral pelvis and working those core muscles on 30%. Because that's really what this research showed us was the most effective. Now, over the last 20 years, we've learned to not use the word neutral. Although we are teaching that position, we talk about finding an aligned position or a good training position for the pelvis.
And that also is an example. That's come much stronger now than we were doing 5 years ago. We're trying to get away from the rigidity of, well, let's just say you do this, you do that, it's black and white. There are no black and whites really, unless you're talking about safety. So there has to be that flexibility in the language, and we're trying to make sure the language is more approachable, less rigid in its framing. And that's partly where this talking about natural curves comes in, instead of saying neutral spine specifically, but it seems like it should be a very specific degree, the natural curves, because then that really makes better room for people to understand that they're individual, that what one of us feels in our back is not the same as what someone else feels, and what one of us can achieve in our back is not the same as the person lying in the mat next to us. And that's where that's coming in. She's trying to get over.
Now Coco's trying to join us even more. I think that the thing about all of this, and there's definitely a school out there and a way of believing that you should teach the movements as Joseph Pilates did. You have to take the decision as your own teacher. You have to decide what's best. All I know is, as the way I prefer to teach, is if I'm teaching somebody a training position, teaching Pilates for the first time, teaching them how to align their spine, I'm going to be using this position to connect those deeper core muscles. But of course, when we get into movements like roll up or rolling like a ball and jackknife, you're not going to be able to keep neutral. I mean, it is a training position to teach something in. And what we're trying to teach is an awareness to that deeper unit.
But the phrase we use again a lot is we don't live in neutral.
No.
But it's every joint in your body, all of the anatomical specialists will tell you, every joint in your body has an ideal place where things are more balanced and where weight distribution is done more effectively and evenly. And that's class is almost its neutral place, its beginning and end point. And most of that is designed around being upright. So the weight through your feet, the weight through your knees, the weight through your hips, the weight through your spine, each vertebra on the spine, it's all about being upright. So as soon as we change away from upright, as soon as we move the body weight, that's going to change. And that's where as soon as you do a movement that's not simply a rigid fixed position, then what's going to work and what's not going to work is going to change dramatically for some people. And what do they need is the key question that then comes up. What is it they actually need from movement? Do they need the stability and the movement? And what do you do first? Well, you can go around in circles on that one if you want to long enough. We've had debates beyond belief with various people on that one.
Yeah, and I think, I sometimes do use Imprint because I want, especially if I know someone's really holding a lot of attention, but I know when I do Imprint, I'm going to fire off and not use all those core muscles effectively. So it is a big question out there because it all depends, again, we believe, who you're teaching. What is the reason what are you teaching them? And if you find that teaching them neutral, pelvis or spine is going to help benefit them understand an aligned position so that they can then get up and move better, then I'm going to use this research still until somebody comes up and says, no, I have some new research now which is that's going to change with the way I'm teaching.
The thing is, we don't know this core group, this center focus, we don't know how well someone's using it all the time. We can make good indications that the more experienced as a teacher you are, and that's one of the things that all teaching is, experience is done over time, and that's where you get your confidence that you get more. I'm pretty sure they're not working correctly, whether it be holding the breath, not using the center, putting pressure on the center, and all the different movements and positions create those potentials. So the minute we move someone's body, it's not going to be perfect. It can't be perfect. If it was perfect, we wouldn't need to move their body. They're already doing something in their life that's already doing that perfectly well for them. So for us, it's finding a balance. So if we go back to the idea of imprint or not imprint, right from the beginning, Michael really allowed me to think for myself, and maybe sometimes he thought you're wrong, but he would let me go through my process to find out why he said what he did, and I would then maybe agree with it, or I would have the same decision, but I would achieve it a slightly different way. So I became my own teacher through Michael's permission for me to trust the work and the body, because I could communicate with the client to get the information out of it. And that's the key for us, is we're not forcing our map on someone else's body or another teacher. We have to let some information start us and then let that follow on, which can be a bit stressful when you're trying to learn, both for the clients and for a teacher. Is if you're not getting black and whites, if you're being asked, what do you think, what do you feel, where do you feel it, you're always trying to give the right answer, and you don't know what the right answer is.
No, and as you can tell from this conversation, nothing should be black and white. Nothing should be emphatic. If somebody says to you, oh, imprint is the best and only position, I would question that. If they say to you, you have to only teach neutral, I would question that. This is a conversation that is not easy, because again, it all depends on the client. You know, the most important thing is how are they standing, how are they moving, what do they need to do. Don't live in a box. Always explore different possibilities, and definitely come to us with any questions you might have to clarify this even more, because as you might tell, it is a discussion. It's not as simple as yes or no.
If you're trying to find a cookie cutter system, it doesn't work, because every person that walks in that door is a different shape of cookie. So no one cutter is going to fit perfectly in that scenario. You're going to create all these, you're working with all these different shapes of biscuits. I don't know why I'm thinking about food.
I think it's part of the lockdown. So much focus is on the food that we're eating.
But it's that ability to start knowing that the method, whether it's with imprint, whether it's with neutral, natural curves, it's about, and we say this all the time, the person that walks in the door is who you are working with. It's the ingredients you're working with, and that's where you have to decide what do they need from you, and what are you trying to bring back to harmony that's maybe out of harmony. And you may not know that for quite a while. So you have to start somewhere. You have to have a formula and a system to start with, but that has to be fluid and flexible, doesn't it? That's the key thing you taught me, and I believe that's what you were taught when you were learning Pilates with some teachers, was be flexible in your mind, because the person in front of you is not in a box.
Absolutely. So I hope you've enjoyed this little chat on neutral spine and neutral pelvis and whether we should use it. Because again, it's never yes or no. It's I believe it's a great training position to teach somebody a good alignment. As I say, I know there's people out there that don't believe in teaching neutral pelvis or neutral spine, but if somebody walks into my studio and they're standing badly, I have to have a framework that I can point to them and say, look, this is what we would like. And for me, neutral, align, position, spine, pelvis, head, feet, whatever you're going to be putting into neutral, is a good training position to teach that client to understand how their body should be working and standing and moving.
And in that vein, when I speak to a client, I have to find out what their experience of their own body is, how have they been working already. And if someone comes in with no body awareness, no good movement in their life at the moment, they've got bad posture from sitting in different, when I say bad posture, they've got a misaligned posture, they're aware that they need some help. That's a different starting place to someone who's been moving their body through dance or gymnastics, or an athlete for 15 years, trained since they were 7, or that's a whole other person to work with. And so you bring their skills to your method. Just as one of us coming to teach, we come in from different angles. There's teachers from dance, there's teachers from fitness, there's teachers from career changes, there's teachers who come from, they've been clients, and through being a client, they've been invited to teach. Every one of us as teachers will bring our own experience into this equation, but then the client's experience and ability to absorb information decides how you present the material. Because you cannot throw all the same information at someone who's never connected to their body in movement before. the same way you would with someone who's been working with their body for 10 years or 15 or 20 years. You have to be flexible.
I hope you've enjoyed this. If you're not part of our website, then please join our website. We have some amazing free webinars. The guests that have been coming forward with us every week since March 2020 have been amazing. They've shared their opinions, they've shared their knowledge.
We're learning all the time from these guys.
And we have learned so many. These webinars are free on our website. Please join us on those, and we look forward to seeing you again on another On the Sofa section.
But I would like to point out, this was supposed to be a few minutes.
Yes.
So maybe
you're fast forwarding, we understand why.
Maybe we'll get better at doing them short and sweet. Short and sweet doesn't happen with this conversation because we all like to have the last word. But so we'll see how it works on the sofa over the years. Oh dear. Shouldn't talk about the years, should we?
No, there's nothing bad over the years.
No.
See you again soon.
Bye.